Ladies, today we have a special guest. I always think it's really important that we hear inspiration from other human beings. I mean, that's one of the reasons why having a group coaching course the way that I do is so powerful for the transformation of my clients from where they were, where they felt like they were struggling and feeling disappointed with themselves and not really being able to move to the next level like they wanted to, not really being able to fit into their clothes comfortably, and feeling frustrated to a place where they have a sense of peace, right? Where the mind is calm, the body is healthy, you know what to do, and you have that support around you. That really what it takes is hearing each other's testimony, right? Hearing that it is possible, that other people struggle too, that it's not just, you look out on the outside, it's like, oh, well, you have all the confidence, you have the health, you have, the perfect body, like it's easy for you, right? That isn't necessarily the case, right? For all of us, especially in the culture that we live in, to be healthy, vibrant, alive, I mean, that feeling alive, not just living, but feeling energized and alive for our life, it takes intention, right? If we were just to go along with what everybody else is doing, then we're going to end up with the being on all the medications and being frustrated with our health and our weight and what's going on, because that's what's normal. So we want to be extraordinary. So I'm so excited, Daniel. Look at you. You're so patient as I'm just getting all excited, jazzed for some inspiration. I love hearing people's stories, and I'm so excited for you to be here to tell us a little bit about what's going on in your life right now, and then what it is that you needed to do to get to this place. So hello and welcome.
Thank you, Rose. Thanks again for having me. This is great. I'm really excited. And I just started my own holistic health coaching business as well. So yeah, that's kind of how we connected. And yeah, I'm really excited. I just finished my website. I will be starting to post on social media soon. Just finished working with a few clients and they've been getting amazing results. So yeah, my dream is to continue to do that, leave my 9 to 5, right? And dedicate 100%, of my career as a health coach and just keep helping people. So yeah, that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super exciting. So you're right at like the pinnacle, right at that spot where you're like, oh my gosh, I want to give and I want to serve and I want other people to feel like as amazing as I do. Like maybe they need some help, like I needed help. So yeah, tell us, what was it like when you had that turning point moment? What was it like before you were really intentional with your health?
Right after I graduated college, right, I finally had reached what I thought it was my dreams. I became a young professional. So I grew up in Miami, left Miami, came to Seattle, Washington to work as an engineer. Started making good money, right? So good job, good money, good benefits, right? So to me, that was the American dream, right? So I'm original from Colombia, from South America. I immigrated here when I was 11. We were really poor. We went through a lot of, like my family and I, through a lot of, hard times. So to me, it's like being an engineer and being able to work and make this money, like, okay, like I made it. Like, like it doesn't get any better than this, right? I got into a really good relationship. I had an amazing girlfriend at the time. Started buying all these materialistic things, right, that I never had. So a nice apartment, the nice electronics. I was into video games and all these other things, the nice car. So I started to do all these things and was able to help my family financially. So I had a lot of things going on well for me, right? But I didn't feel well. I didn't feel happy, right? I'm like, there's something weird going on, like, because I reached what I thought was the American dream, what I thought was what will make me really fulfilled and happy, and I wasn't feeling that great. And little by little, I started to gain weight. I was already a pretty shy guy and didn't have a lot of self-confidence, and kept gaining more and more weight. I got to the point that I was pre-diabetic, got pretty big. Then with a lot of those things, a lot of sicknesses start to come, right? So suffering from sleep apnea, insomnia, I had like acid reflux all the time. I was always bloated, joint pain, always tired, low energy. Like I just felt like a mess, right? And then on top of that, my insecurities kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So I was very insecure. I hated the way I looked. And I know you don't hear a lot of men a lot of times talk about that type of stuff,
Yeah.
but I couldn't look at myself in a reflection. Like I will go to a mall or anything, and every time I will catch just like a glance of myself, I'm like, oh, that's nasty. Like, what do you even think? Like, what would my girlfriend date me? Like, I'm so gross. And so, and I did, and I was always trying to fit in. That's one of the things that really killed me. Depending on what group I was, I became a complete different person. So I kind of lost sense of who I was, and I was always trying to fit in, trying to make other people happy. And I'm like, who are you, right? and and I was also, I happened to be kind of like my family therapist. So since I was the engineer, the one that graduated, the one that had it figured out, everyone will come to me with their problems, and I'm trying to help everybody, but I will never take care of myself. And I'm like, man, like who's gonna help me, right? So, and all these things started piling up, and the sad thing is that I became really good at hiding it. So even when I lived with my ex-girlfriend and my brother at the same time, they had no idea how depressed I was and how sad I was, right? And so yeah, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, until it got to the point that I'm like, okay, I have to do something, right? Like I'm miserable. I don't like my life. All these materialistic things, all these other things I have are not doing it for me. I wasn't sure exactly why. I will find out later on it was due to a lot of pains and past traumas and things that I had, right? Uh, but at that moment, I had no idea. So I went from being really close to getting engaged, right, to this awesome girl, right, and going from there to breaking up, right? Because I'm like, I don't think it's fair for me to become a husband in the state that I am and possibly bring kids to this world, because I don't want them to turn out like me. Like I felt like that's a disservice to the kids. It wasn't fair to her. I'm like, okay, I gotta do something, right? So I ended up going on my own, and with that intention of getting better, right?
Yeah.
but but actually, what ended up happening was that now I didn't have to hide these things from anyone. So I actually kept going like down even more. So now I started to, usually like especially Fridays to Sundays, I will eat all this nasty food. So I will get pizza all the time, wings, ice cream, just binge on them.
Yeah.
Started drinking more. Uh, every time I will go out with my friends, I will drink with the purpose of getting drunk, right? So I will get really drunk, do stupid things that I'm not proud of, and hopefully never do anything like that again. And so I just kept getting worse and worse and worse until I got to the point that I was clinically depressed, and I started to have suicidal thoughts, right? And they kept getting worse and worse. And I was like, oh wow, like this sucks. Like I can't believe like life is not worth it. Life sucks. I don't want to do this anymore, right? And then after that, I decided like, okay, I have to do something. Either you act on those on those thoughts, or you get it together, right? And thankfully, that's kind of like when my journeys into like health and wellness started, because I stumbled into this health and wellness podcast, right? And at the time, I didn't know what a podcast was, which is pretty sad. and I never thought that I would like health and wellness. And I started listening to it, and I got obsessed with it. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. This is so good, because the guy's story really connected with me, and all the things that he was teaching is like, is that true? Like, that sounds too out there. I think like that can't be true, right? But then he kept like having more stories and stories of people getting over all this so-called incurable diseases and getting out of all these dark holes. And I'm like, wow, like maybe it's true. Like maybe I could do it too. So I kind of had like a little bit of hope, and I became obsessed. I started like consuming all those podcasts. Started reading. I read like one book at that until that time maybe, and then I became obsessed with reading. Like all I do now, like if you see behind me, is all books. That's all I do now. So, and then I started implementing a lot of these teachings, right? started changing a lot of my environment. And little by little, I started to see not just the weight coming off, but like confidence getting better, and all of these sicknesses that I was treating with pills. And every time I'll go to the doctor, like, oh no, you're fine. That's normal. Just take this pill, take this other pill, take this other pill. And I had like a pharmacy,
Mm.
in my kitchen. And all those things started to go away. So to me, that didn't make sense. I'm like, how is that possible? I thought I need the pills. I thought I need the doctor's approval to do all these things. And yeah, I just started to just get better, and seeing all these results, and it was awesome. And I was like, wow, like this is crazy. This is amazing. And one of the biggest things that I started doing was changing my environment. So environments was huge, even just from my own house, like my kitchen. I don't have anything that I don't want to eat, that I know that is bad for my body, because I don't want to rely on willpower, because I will eat it. Up until this day,
Yeah.
it's night and day compared to how I am now to how I used to be. But if you put a pizza there, or like a bucket of ice cream, and you leave it there for long enough, like I will eat it, right? so so I started changing my environment, and I started looking for new communities and new people. And thankfully that started to change my life, right? Even like that took it to the next level. I started to get coaches, I started to get mentors. So I found an amazing gym. The owner is a great person, right? So he became a mentor of mine. Then the girl that used to do my fitness coaching, we became really good friends. So then she became like another big part of my transformation. Then I found my mentor. So I have like one big mentor that I have here in Seattle, and he's done so much for me. It's impossible to describe how that guy has changed my life. And yeah, so I just started to change my environment, my communities, and learning from a lot of people. Started joining other communities, like like the one where we met with Sean Croxton, and so all these things started to just completely change my life. And it got to the point that I'm like, I can't believe more people don't talk about this. Like, how come I was about to like contemplating to take my life,
Mm.
and I had no idea that this was a thing, right? So I'm like, no, there's no way. Like, I have to share this somehow. And I kind of put it out there in the universe, like I need to do something to help people, right? So I started just by sharing my story with other people. And to my surprise, all these people that I knew for years, that in my eyes were like, oh, these people are great, they have it all made. I wish I could be like them, right? I used to compare myself to people a lot.
Right.
Then when I started to open up to them, they're like, oh no, I suffer from the same thing. It's like, oh, and then they start opening up to me, and I'm like, wow, like I had no idea. Like, because again, we become really good at hiding these things, right? And we don't tell people, right? So you just see like an act that we all put on. So I'm like, okay, I need to do something. And then through that same podcast, I found out about an amazing school about holistic coaching.
Yeah.
and just listening to the podcast, and the lady that runs the company, she starts to talk about everything they do, how they train their coaches. And I'm getting so excited, because I'm like, oh, I want to do that. That I notice that I start to get like teary eyed, and I'm about to start crying. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you gonna cry? And then I noticed that it was from pure excitement. It's like, oh, I can't wait to do this. And I'm like, okay, like, what more validation than that? Like, what more do you need than that feeling of like, okay, I should do that. So long story short, I went back to school,
Yeah.
graduated as a holistic health coach. And for the past few years, I've just been sharing my story and helping people, right? So I wasn't doing it as a business at first. I was just helping, friends, family, coworkers. And now, because of the pandemic and all these things that have been going on, I'm like, I think now is a perfect time to to really help, right? Because you see more and more people, being depressed and having to deal with all these different things. So that's why I started my company. And yeah, like, I'm excited. I'm excited to for what the future holds, right? So yeah, that's a short version of, I guess, my story. So
Oh man, Daniel, thank you. Thank you. You like were bringing, like, I was laughing. I'm like, you feel emotional.
Thank you.
I totally know. I feel that so much. And when we speak from the heart and we share our story and we share about what it was like for us and how we struggled, and that facade that comes up where, everything's okay. And some of us are better at hiding it than others.
It's true. That's true.
I don't think I was actually very good at hiding it.
Oh, really?
But then again, I mean, when I talk to people, they're like, oh, well, you're fine now. It's been easy for you. And I'm
Yep.
like, I don't know what world you're living in where it's been easy, but there has been a lot of things that I've done. And I hear that from you too. There's a lot of things that you did intentionally when you realized that there was a different way.
Mhm.
Right. Like, and I love that you're like, I have a coach for this, a coach for that, a mentor for
Oh,
this, a
yes.
mentor for that. Like, I wasn't going to stop until I got some relief. And
Mhm.
when you start to get a little bit of relief, you start to feel a little bit better. And then that builds momentum. But the other way built momentum too, right? It was like you felt worse and then you started to push people away and then you felt even worse.
Yeah.
And it just kind of is this like, it's momentum. It's
Oh,
about all
yes.
of these little things. So you sharing this story here with me, like you have built momentum for me, for
Oh,
my life and my
thank
journey.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story. I feel like I want to know more for sure. I'm like, I want pictures. Like when you're talking about your family, I'm like trying to imagine like what your mom looks like and like,
Yeah.
whatever, your siblings and cousins and brothers and
Yeah.
whoever. Yeah. So definitely next time I hear your story, I want some pictures. I want a
Oh,
little
yeah.
slideshow. Like,
That works. I could definitely do that. That's a good idea. For
oh my
sure.
goodness. So I just popped over into the group to see if there are any questions. Margie is listening. There's not any questions right now, but ah, I guess if there's one thing that you wish someone had said to you before you found that podcast, right? Before you found really your path and continued down that journey, is there anything that anyone could have said to you?
Uh, not sure about one thing they could have said, but it would have been nice if I guess more people will be a little bit more vulnerable with the stories and they'll be, feel like they can share, right? Because I feel that it's kind of crazy how you might have multiple people talking and they're both going through very similar struggles, but the two of them are so embarrassed to share it, right? Because oh, they're gonna judge me, like I don't know what they're gonna say. And the truth is like no, like actually both of you are able to be vulnerable and share, you will connect even deeper and you might be able to help each other. So it would have been awesome to know that I wasn't alone, that I wasn't the other person that was going through all of that. And so yeah, just to have someone just be vulnerable and be open with me and be like, hey man, like, are you struggling with anything? Let me know because I have your back. You know what I mean? So just that support would have been awesome, right? And I think that's why we do what we do, right? Because we want to make sure if we see someone like that, that we extend our hand and it's like, okay, like I'm here to help, right?
Yeah. And just to reiterate your point,
Hmm.
um, when we show up vulnerable, and it's not vulnerable like I'm an open wound for anyone to hurt me, vulnerable meaning authentic, right? Like this is
Yes.
just this is the real deal. There's some really awesome things about me, and there's some things that I'm still working on,
Hmm.
some
Hmm.
things that I struggle with. And showing up in that way, that's what opens the door for other people to feel comfortable to do it too. And that's what
Yes.
I'm hearing you saying. It's like, I finally found my voice. And from finding my voice, I'm attracting all of these other, like, I didn't even know that all of this whole world existed,
I hope.
until I started speaking. So yeah, that's really powerful. It is a lot to be the first, right? It is a lot to be same thing with me. When I started this, I don't even know what I was doing. I just like went live on my regular Facebook feed and just started telling my story just like you did, right? I didn't even know
It's
what I was
awesome.
doing. I just felt the inspiration. I'm like, I need
Mhm.
to, I don't know why, but like, here's all my garbage. And it's not garbage, right? It's just life, right? And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think actually even just speaking it like that, that's
Uh-huh.
very telling, I think, of how a lot of people probably feel, where it's like, I don't want to air my dirty laundry,
Exactly.
it's my garbage, it's
Yeah,
whatever. And it's like, no, man, it's just life. Like this is my struggle. This is what I've been through, and this is how I've overcome. It's like an inspiration.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that's how this business started. I mean, this whole group, there was 2 people that called me crying, saying, "Oh my God, you spoke to my heart." I'm like, I did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's
same
the
thing with
crazy
you.
thing. Yeah, that we always think that, I guess, like you were saying, like that the way we talk about ourselves sometimes is that we have all this faith in other people, and like we want all this, like, I see you, you're inspiring me, this is amazing. But then I catch myself the same way sometimes, saying like, oh yeah, why would people want to hear this and that? And we're so mean to ourselves sometimes, right? And then you have people, like you were saying, that they call you crying, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess there's value to what I'm saying, right? So it's funny how we just, I guess it's like a defense mechanism, right? That we just try to protect ourselves, like no one's gonna listen, no one's gonna care, like no one, it's interesting how we work.
The mind, it is a wondrous, wondrous thing for sure.
100%.
So maybe you could leave us with what it is that you are currently working on.
Sure. Yeah, so I just finished putting my website together, and I have all my services there. I have more about my story there, right? Like if you want to hear or read a little bit more about my story. And I'm getting ready to start marketing the business on social media. So I'm pretty much just like on launching mode right now. I'm like actually putting the company out there for the rest of the world. I've been keeping it just to like people around me and people that know me. So now I'm ready to share it with everybody, right? So yeah, that's where I am right now, and I'm excited. I can't wait to share more with the world and keep connecting with people like you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting. I'm feeling it. It's also interesting. One of the things that came up for me when I first started this was kind of like a nervousness, right? Where it's like,
Mm.
okay, like what am I doing and how am I going to do this? And like, how am I going to create this community? And like, what does it mean to have a business? And like, people are supposed to give me money for this. And like, how does that all work? And I like at first I just wanted to give everything, give it. Why not? Why? You know what I mean? I just want to like give. I just want to give. And then I'm like, oh shoot, like I can't like buy food. I can't take care of my son. You know what I mean? There's like, oh, wait a minute. Like that reciprocity of like giving and receiving, that it's not just give, give, give. Cause just like you said before, how you ended up overweight and depressed is like, you didn't know how to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
There's that self-care piece. And so it's the same in a business as well. Like there has to be a receiving and a giving. And it's actually a very beautiful spiritual thing,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? That like people get well because there's that transaction, right? Not in spite of it,
Oh yeah.
right? It's like they show up and people pay, they pay attention,
Hmm.
right? I mean, there's 1,000 people in this, over 1,000 people, ladies in this group. And I
Awesome.
don't think all 1,000 of them are watching right now,
Sure.
right? Because this is my like open community group. But
Yeah.
maybe if they had, had some skin in the game, that like they would show up. And so
Hmm.
that's kind of like a powerful thing as well that I learned, is that it's okay to and in fact it's good and it's a spiritual thing to have that reciprocity. But
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
also thought, like, I used to think that, oh well, I should never have people in my group that do the same thing that I do.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that's total BS, right?
Yes.
That's a
Yes.
total belief system in
Yeah.
my own mind, that
Yeah.
like somehow, you know, I wouldn't be welcome there, or they're not welcome here. Or like I
Hmm.
have to do my thing over here and you have to be totally
Yeah.
different and do your thing over there. And what I
Yeah.
found is that's total BS,
Yes.
right? Like we both want the same things for ourselves, be happy,
Hmm.
healthy, and free. We want the same things for other people. We can see inside of them. That's what I heard what you were just
Hmm.
speaking. Like I can see the beauty and the health and the vitality inside of other people when they can't see it themselves.
Yes, of course. And no, I couldn't agree more. And the way I like to look at it is, our goal is to serve people, right? and to help people that connect with us. So if I'm talking to someone in your team that is like, oh, you know what, like I connect more than with Daniel than with Rose, then like, okay, that's fine, right? Because that's what it's about, right? And then vice versa too. Like I will, if I ever feel like, oh, you know, like this client is not really for me,
Yeah.
but I know someone that will, I really know, like if you connect with Rose, she will really be able to help. So that's the way I see it, right? Instead of being like competition, I see it like as a way to collaborate and try to help as many people as possible. Because I don't want to help people that I don't connect with if it's going to be possible to have that connection, right? Like you need to have that connection. So if you don't have it, try to, you know,
Yeah.
guide them to a different person that might be able to help them. So that's kind of the way I see it. It's more of a collaboration, and there's so many people suffering out there. There's like, oh, there's plenty for for everybody, right? Like we actually need more coaches, right?
Yeah.
My opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that too. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you have kids or if you're in a relationship or you have parents, right?
Yes,
It's like your parents could say something to you and it's like, I don't even like what you're saying and I'm not going to listen to you. But a friend or a mentor or a podcast person says the exact same thing.
So true. So true. That just happened to me. Like I had so my first like paying clients, right? And they're all people that I've never worked with before, except my brother. My brother was the only person that was like family, someone I knew. He's the only person that didn't go through the program and just didn't have anything. Everybody else is like, oh my God, this blew my mind. This is amazing. You're the best. How do I keep working with you? And my brother, like, it's like, oh yeah, cool. We'll talk later. Like, and I'm like, whoa. And the same thing with my mom, and like, so yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's funny
All right, you
how that
send
works.
me your family members, I'll send you my family members,
Oh my
and we'll
God.
be good.
And honestly, I think my mom will love you. To be honest, like I really do. So I think you will connect with her way better than me. So it's not a bad idea. I might do that for real.
All right, good. Well, I recorded this beautiful session here, so we'll send it over to your mom and see how she feels about it. Mom, I would love to meet you. I would love to support you any way that I can. Any friend, and especially a mother of this amazing man I know is a good person. So I can't wait to meet you.
I took note of it. I'm actually doing it.
Awesome. Oh, what a pleasure. What a pleasure. Thank you, Daniel. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me again. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.